Matt Jackson has been a very long-term friend of Hargraves, and we decided this year to do something completely different. And Matt is going to be not enlightening you into something which I'm absolutely a firm believer in terms of what is the future of innovation in organisations, what is the future of innovators, what is happening that's new and different. And so today you'll hear an awful lot about the past and what we need to do. What we also want to enlighten you to is what we think the future is. What's going to make a difference? What are people doing that's different in innovation as compared to what people are doing that's the same? And I absolutely believe that Matt Jackson and his company Affectors is part of the future. And so Matt's here at morning tea to have a chat as well, and he'll also be here tomorrow. He's just published his first book, The Age of Effect. And so this is something you want to have a chat to him about. We've got copies, and you'll be able to grab copies and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to go into any more detail other than just ask Matt to come to the stage.
Good morning. How was your morning? So far, so good. How was your morning? Tremendous. And how are you feeling about today and tomorrow? Yeah. About the learning that you're about to go through. About the challenges to the way you think and the way you feel about past and future. Because that can be uncomfortable. Opinions are something that we hold very dear to our sense of reality. And that's why times of huge change can be so uncomfortable. Because they threaten our opinions. But to truly learn, we need to open our hearts and our minds. That is why I love the word affect. Because when I affect someone, or somebody affects me, there is a change to thoughts and feelings. Hearts and minds are moved. Thank you for the people nodding. You are having a positive effect on me. Okay, so we don't have a word in our language for an effector. We have a word that says, I can pick up these mints and I can move them from here to here. I can produce a result. And as the person who produces that result, I am an effector, an agent of effect. But I believe that a person can move the heart and mind of another person sincerely and with intent. Otherwise, why are you here? If you're not here hoping that the speakers and the people sitting around you could potentially move your heart and mind. But we don't have a word. That's why the logo of our company is Affector with the red dots underneath it. Because if you tweet, I just saw Affectors Matt at Affectors Matt, it will put the red dots under Affectors. So if we don't have a word in the English-speaking language to describe somebody who can move the heart and mind of another, I have to believe that we haven't placed any importance on it. And if we haven't placed any importance on it, then we haven't placed any value on it. I'm very proud to say that The Australian just published an article of mine on the weekend, just now, about the damaging work cultures we have. Between the years of 2008 and 2009, 12 months, 35 people committed suicide from the same organisation, France Telecom. The CEO was forced to resign. He felt that was unfair because how could he be held responsible for people he had never even met? And that was the legal position they took. And there is still no final decision because it's a really complicated issue. When you start saying that somebody is accountable for the way you feel, that disrupts all the health systems and the legal systems that we have. Okay, that was France. So here we are in Australia. And we have the highest suicide rates. 50% of those rates are based on workplace pressure. So culture has previously been seen as important, but not as urgent as the other things. And why do you think that is, sir? That's a fair answer. And the reason I think people don't know, because it's quite a common answer, is because we can't measure it. We can't measure it like the mints that I move from here to here. Effect is easier to measure because it's in the past. Affect, the way people's thoughts and feelings are changing, i.e. the drivers of culture, is much harder to measure. So what do? We prioritise everything else that we can measure. We leave it alone. And that's why we have these alarming rates, because now we're starting to measure it. So that's why the purpose of Affectors is to identify people problems in workplace culture. So what I would like you to do on your piece of paper is write down what wind looks like. Wind. What wind looks like.
Can't see it.
Can't see it. Yep. So what it looks like is you can't see it. Okay.
You see the consequences of it.
See the consequences of it.
Yeah, so it might be trees moving, chop on surf and waves.
Hey, don't hog all the answers. I like your enthusiasm. Thank you for your enthusiasm. But let's leave some answers for other people, yeah? Who else have we got? Who's got an answer?
More generally, it's movement in otherwise static objects.
Okay. And the person next to you?
I said it's invisible, you can't see it, you can only feel it.
Okay. So has anybody picked up something? So, okay, what have you noticed?
There's no tangible description, but we can feel it.
Yeah.
And feel its consequences. See its consequences.
Fantastic. So, does wind exist? We're all sure that it exists, but we all have a different description of it, but we agree on the consequences of it is when we identify it. Can you see the problem with affect? When we're talking about workplace culture, we're kind of hoping that the consequences are positive. So we're talking today about innovation, and a good place to start with innovation is creativity. But they are two different things to start this conference off. And what you've done now is be creative, especially you, sir. Okay, because you generated something. You generated a discussion. Some of you probably thought about things in a bit of a different way when you heard from other people. Okay, so now think of creativity like wind. Because when people come in and say, I'm going to talk about creativity, it's a bit like the answer we had here. It's invisible. I don't know what it looks like. But what does creativity look like in your organisation? What does creativity look in this room now? It's a whole bunch of people looking at me and giving me eye contact. It's people contributing more than one answer. It's people admitting, thank you, sir, that they don't know. Because you can have a discussion then, and a discussion and a conversation is creative. So the first statement is, everyone is creative. If you disagree, put up your hand. If you agree, keep your hand down. Everyone is creative. One, two, three, four. Okay. So the rest of you, where is your greatest opportunity to learn in this moment? From the people who have their hands down at the moment, or from the people who have their hands up? Exactly. And the people who had their hands up, who do you have the most opportunity to learn from? Sorry? The one closest to you as in their opinion is closest to you, or geographically speaking? Oh. Is that because of the who is sitting next to you? So did you have your hand up or down? And did you have your hand up or down? Okay. So the opposite part is the point that I would like to run with. Okay, so today, when the speakers are talking and they say something that you disagree with, what are you going to do? Tune in or tune out? Tune in. Do you know how hard that is to do? Do you know in the rest of your life, do you know how much you do that? When we talk about digital innovation and we talk about connecting with customers, how do we connect with customers? Do we choose the ones we agree with or the ones we disagree with? When you buy the paper, do they give you more articles that agree with your opinion, or do they give you more articles that disagree with your opinion? When you buy your second book on Amazon, is it more or less like the last book you bought on Amazon? When you choose a movie to watch, do you choose a movie that's more or less like the one you watched before? How long do you want me to keep going on this? Music. Google search. When you do a Google search, do you get the same results as me? No. You get results that agree with your previous opinions. So what's happening to our learning? Because today's all about learning. Today's all about challenging things. Today's all about critical thinking. Do you get where I'm going with this? So for the next 2 days, you can practice this. When somebody says something that you disagree with on stage, that's the person you find. Okay, so let's do another one of these. The ends justify the means. Disagree or agree? Disagree, 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 disagree. Okay, so majority of the room disagrees with that statement. When we put the effect, the result, ahead of the affect, the way we make people think and feel in our culture, what are we doing? We're not raising our hands. Sorry. Looking at the way people are thinking and feeling and finding ways to tune into that is how you can put the means before the ends. And I just saw the majority of the room disagree that ends justify the means. But it's not the way we do business typically. So, in order to be able to grow personally, which is what Alan asked me to finish on here, I need to ask for feedback. I need people to point things out to me that I can't see. And that requires critical thinking. Now, is personal growth creative? And who have I got the most control over in my workplace culture? You, ma'am. Myself. Yet I'm the hardest thing to see. But I need critical thinking. I need feedback. I need people to point those things out to me, and I need to know when the way that I feel or the way that I think is based on an opinion and not an actuality.